So, how was your night?
My night was good. I ended up just having a chill evening at home because I ended up on let's see, a date that lasted from like 10 a.m. to like 5 p.m.
What?
I
That's
know
awesome.
it was crazy long. It was, I think, our fourth date, and we are putting this only for our paying
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
subscribers
yeah.
because he listens to the show religiously. And I feel like we haven't talked about it yet, but like I don't foresee us becoming anything romantic.
Oh, even after a date that long?
I know we get along so well and we have so much to talk about. And like, it's just, it's missing that chemistry. And I know we've talked about it on the show before, and it just
Yeah.
drives me crazy that like
What is the thing? Okay, when you say the chemistry, what do you mean? Like in your heart, what is it? Is it like, is it the sex appeal? Is it the way he gestures things? Is it like,
it's just the simple attraction.
uh,
It's just not, it's just not there for some reason. And I thought, if I
mm,
give it enough time, it could be
mhm,
there because, to be fair, a lot of successful relationships I've been surveying very successful marriages
mhm,
and asking them about when they first started. And for some of them, especially when the woman is, if you looked at the couple, you would say that woman is out of his league. And so
mm,
I've been sitting down with a lot of couples lately, asking them, like, somebody from the outside would think this about you. How did your relationship first start? And most of them say, we started as friends, or
mhm,
even when we first started dating, it was just kind of like a hangout thing. We got along really well, but we weren't intimate for a really long time. And then
mhm,
eventually it happened.
mm.
And so it almost irritates me too when I hear all of these other people out there, even in the group sometimes, the Facebook group, talking about how they need that instant connection.
Mhm.
But it's just like that doesn't always happen. And some of the healthiest, most successful relationships are not that. They don't
Yeah,
start that way. They
they
start as
don't.
friendships and they build into something more.
Mhm.
And so that's why I was like, you know what, maybe I'll just see if that happens.
But you're not feeling that's even like a possibility. Like
I
he's like
just
completely in the friend zone at this point.
I just don't know. I don't want him to be. He's actually quite a catch. Like, he's done so much work on himself
Mhm.
and he can have amazing conversation. And I don't know. The
Well,
jury is
I'm
still out.
it is because I will say 10 to 5 is a long time to spend with someone if you're I mean, yeah, like I have friends that I spend time with, but by like hour 3, sometimes I'm like, okay, I want to do something else now.
Right.
But if you're able to spend that's 7 hours, it's almost a work shift with the guy. So it's like, I don't know. And this is the fourth date. So
Technically, yeah.
was he the one that took you on that weird, not weird, I'm sorry, I don't want just in case he decides to pay for the show.
That really screwed.
Was he the one that you went on the hiking date with or the walking date? Like, was that one that
You
was
know
the
how many
first?
walking dates I've been on?
Well, I mean, I'm saying it to you, and I'm like, damn, I know she went on multiple of those, but I'm hoping that this is a yes or something. But like, what was the first date with this guy?
It was a beach walk.
Okay, so it was a walk. Got
It was a
it.
walk.
What did you do yesterday for your work shift?
You're gonna laugh. We, we went on a hike.
Can you guys just do something else besides
We
exercise?
did. So our second date was like Top Golf and
Oh, that's
dinner.
fun.
Yeah. Our third date, I don't even know if you would call it a date. It was more like he had the day off from work. I snuck
Mhm.
out like out of work for like an hour or two, and we went to the driving range and he kind of helped me with my golf swing.
I don't know. You
I don't know if I
snuck
call that
out
even a
of
date.
but you snuck out of an obligation to spend time with this guy. Oh no. You know what? Let's not get our hopes up because it's still in the infancy stages of you two
Right.
getting to know each other. So we don't know where this is going to go. I will say though, you look great today. So I don't know if this is a post-date glow you got going on, or maybe you woke up this morning and said, I'm gonna do something different.
Just felt
But
like glowing.
yeah, you
Um,
look really glowy today.
to be fair, it's because it's really gloomy out, so I have the ring light on. And because I have makeup on, because I do have another date after this, I have a wine tasting date. So like I gotta look good for
Ooh.
that. And I
Well,
have
you
to be
look
able to like
great.
transition. But I realized as soon as I turned the ring light on, I was like, damn, ring light.
I know that you just wish you could walk around with it at all times. I feel the same way because
Hold it in front of me.
every time I'm out, like you could barely see me because of my skin tones. I literally want to pay someone to just walk around with like a bounce board and a light wherever I go. So people are like, so no matter what I do, I always get a nice shot.
Honestly, can you
Yeah.
imagine me showing up to this date, sitting down, be like, hey, nice to see you, holding a ring light in my hand, and just be like, dude, what's wrong with you?
I mean, you could get to that point where you could be one of those people who like vlogs everything they do. And I'm pretty sure there's someone out there that goes on a date and say, hey, you guys, so I'm out on a date. Here he is. But anyway, so he's cute, but I don't know. It's like, I can
You
so see
know,
that happening.
when I went to a pickup party, a winery pickup party this weekend, and we saw this couple. They were clearly married, they had rings on, but it looked like that's kind of what she was doing. She was, because I could see over her shoulder, she wasn't that far from us, and she's
Mhm.
like editing her picture in the same outfit. She was dressed to the nines for this event, like a little too much, and like full makeup, full hair. Just you could tell that was their personality. He looks like a gym rat, but he
Uh,
looked bored out of his mind.
he probably was bored out of his mind.
And
This
all I
was a
could,
wine tasting.
it was, yeah, it was a pickup party. It was an event.
Mm,
And everyone was dressed up for it, and there was music, and it
mhm.
was such a great atmosphere. And it was a winery that was just absolutely gorgeous, and it was at sunset. And here she is on her phone editing this image or video or whatever she was editing. And all I could think was, you are missing a really nice moment with your husband.
Yeah.
And he knows it. You clearly don't know it. I wanted to
Yeah.
walk by and drop my card.
Yeah, obviously they have issues there. It reminds me, I'm watching this show with my husband called Nine Perfect Strangers on Hulu. It's a Nicole
Mm,
Kidman show. And there's actually a couple in the show that kind of reminds you of what you just said. The show starts off where she's like an influencer, and I think he's a rapper, actor. I don't know. They don't really get into what he does. Actually, I think they do, and I forgot. Anyway, so
the new episodes aired, didn't they? Of it.
yeah.
Did
Hmm?
you watch them?
I'm up to almost the last episode now.
Okay, don't tell
Like,
me what
so I'm
happens.
not going to tell you, like last night's episode, the way it ended, I was like, oh, what? But yeah, but the reason why I'm bringing this up, the first couple was like that, where the girl, all she cared about was how she looked and
Mhm.
Instagram and getting thought. And you can see the guy is like bored and he's disconnected from the relationship because of it. I try my best not to go crazy when I'm out with my husband and having, I used to be like that person, like take a picture here, 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 and then completely missing out on what we're doing. So I do find it that now, yeah, we want cute pictures. Yeah, we want our Instagram to be lit, but we are missing out on like wonderful moments with our mates because of it. Like I have to tell my
Absolutely.
husband now, put your cell phone away. I mean, it's not so much that we go out to dinner all the time, but if we are out to dinner, at least let's give each other the time and the attention. I mean, the
Yeah.
cell phone can wait. I think it's completely ruining our connection with one another sometimes.
I completely agree. Whenever I am out on a date or even with friends,
Mhm.
I make sure I put my phone I keep it in my purse.
Yeah.
Now, granted, yes, I wear an Apple Watch. So like,
Mhm.
I'm getting my text on my wrist,
Mhm.
but like I silence it so I can feel it. If it's like blowing up, then maybe I'll
Mhm.
check to make sure it's not an emergency. But
Mhm.
otherwise, it's just like I find it really rude, and I want to be very present with whoever I'm with.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to see it from the other end because I've kind of trained myself to put my phone away when I'm with other people. If the person I'm with is like sitting there on their phone, I'm like, I put my phone away for you.
Yeah, I will point it out. Like, I get on my husband sometimes. Like, I know he has a
Good.
very busy job, and I know he's always getting emails, but I will fucking say it sometimes. If we're out somewhere special and he's spending the entire time just like scrolling something, I'm like, can you please put your phone away? My favorite is when we go places and there's no reception because I know he can't just sit on the phone the whole fucking time doing work. So yeah, should we get started for our listeners now?
I think so. Yeah, let's do this. Hello, our beautiful listeners. It is so nice to be here with you today.
Yes, hello, hello, hello.
We are getting really, 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 really close to the end of season 1.
And now it's so emotional.
It's bittersweet.
It is bittersweet.
We are at our second to last episode today.
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to kind of do a summary of the season with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then next week will be our final episode of the season. And I am so excited for season 2.
I am. It's gonna get lit.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
It's gonna be so good.
If you want a sneak peek at season 2, actually not even a sneak peek, it's the whole first episode is up on patreon.com. You can subscribe. What we charge like $5 for the subscription. Come on, people.
I know it's only $5 and you get every episode in video form. I mean, there's one episode that's free and available for all. I think it's our first, no, I don't think it's our first episode, our debut, the COVID in Love episode. That's available for everyone to watch for free right now. But for subscribers who pay the $5 monthly fee, they get all of our videos, all of the episodes, pre-show and post-show, which are pretty. There's been a few post shows where I'm like, dang, should we cut this into the main show? But I'm like, nah, we'll just leave it for our paying subscribers. But yeah, and we're planning on, we've talked about it, putting up exclusive footage like dating tutorials that will be coming up probably during the second season of the show. But it's a wealth of information for our subscribers. Seriously.
Yeah. We'll probably do the tutorials during the break between the 2 seasons.
Yeah, for sure. Because we're like starting to like, get our ideas together. And I don't know, season 2 is gonna be fun. Because my sister was packing up our house and I saw her going through my books that I had, and I saw my Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla book. And I remember how obsessed I was with watching the show Loveline as a teenager growing up. Even though it's an adult show, I mean, I learned a lot from it. It was on MTV, and people will call in and ask these crazy questions about sex. And I'm actually excited for the second season because of that, because I know there's a lot of misconceptions around sex and how we go at it, and I just think it's going to be a wonderful topic for us to talk about the entire season, no matter what it is, whether it's oral or how to go about it or what to avoid. It's going to be hot. It's going to be fun.
I agree. I think it's going to be amazing to be able to kind of pull together relationships and dating with sex. And I think it's really important to have this topic because, sex is not just penetration. Right? Sex can be so many different things. It's having an intimate connection or not. And to be able to be aware of whether or not you are in a relationship where you are having that intimate connection with your partner during sex, or if you're in a situationship where, you're just connecting on a very surface level. Oh, I saw that look from you. Trigger word.
Yeah. The little trigger word for me. Yeah. Well, it's interesting you bring that up because one of our guests on this season, Rick, I went on to his show recently and we were talking about open relationships and the stigma that's behind it and how some people are ashamed and whatnot because they enjoy it. And I think, especially now, as we've learned about the different lifestyles and ways of life and habits that many people have, I think people are becoming more or so less I want to say less aggressive towards different variations of how to live your life sexually and in
Right.
relation, because there's just so many different ways to live on earth.
Hmm.
Really, there really is. Like I remember just sitting, we were in Las Vegas last weekend, and we were by the pool, and I saw this Muslim couple. You know, the guy was like basically half naked with just his shorts on, but then his wife, you know, had the full outfit, long sleeves,
Oh,
long
wow.
pants, the head wrap in the pool. And I'm looking at them, and I may have had my judgments at that moment, but at the same time, I was thinking, wow, there's so many ways to live on this earth. On
Yeah.
one hand, you have the girl that's completely sexually open and fluid about her body and life. And then on the other hand, you have this couple. And it's just,
Especially in Vegas.
especially in Vegas, which like I kind of thought it was interesting to see them there. I'm like, how? I had so many questions, but I was like, I am not going to be disrespectful and go over and ask these questions. But
No.
that being said, but that being said, it's like you can be polyamorous, you could be in an open relationship, you could be
Mhm.
completely monogamous. It's really up to what makes you happy and what you're comfortable with. And I feel like
Yeah.
what are you going to say?
I'm excited because seeing that you're mentioning that, like, it's an exciting topic to talk about, like serial monogamy and serial daters, because
Mhm,
serial daters are not serial monogamous,
mhm,
and serial daters have a very different sexual experience from serial monogamists.
mhm.
And talking about, you know, these open relationships, these ethical non-monogamous relationships, I am really trying to learn that phrase.
Ethical,
Non-monogamous.
non-monogamous relationships. Okay, I mean, I guess that, what does that mean? That's like open.
Open, but it's a different, it's a very specific way of being open. But we'll talk about it in season 2. We don't
Yeah,
want
we'll
to give
talk
away
about
too
it. Yeah,
much.
let's not give away too much. But yeah, so I mean, but this season, we've basically
Yes.
talked about the different variations of love. One of our
Right.
more successful episodes was Success with Love, which I was surprised because when we were recording it, I was like, okay, how many people are going to relate to this? But then as we talked and as I see the people responding and listening, it actually ended up being one of our more successful episodes, which is funny because it's Success
Interesting.
with Love, and it ended up being one of our more successful episodes. I guess there's a lot of people out there just like you, not to put you on a spot or anything, that are entrepreneurs, are leaders, are creators, and they're having a hard time, you know,
Mm,
dating or
yes.
having healthy relationships because they feel like their success is intimidating their partner. Even in my relationship, I remember when it first started, I had issues. Granted, I had a good job, but my husband made more than I did. Let's just put it
Mm.
that way. And I remember in the beginning, I was struggling with it because, you know, I was accused of being a gold digger. People say, oh, you're only after dudes who can provide for you. And I'm like, I didn't know he had this job. We were just friends. I never asked him, what do you do for a living? It never came up in
How
the
much
conversation.
money do you make?
Exactly. It never came up in the fucking conversation. It wasn't important to me. What was important to me was a connection that I had with someone.
That is an amazing point. We never really covered in that episode. We really focused on one side, but we
Mhm,
never really hit on, if you are the person who doesn't make 6 figures,
mhm.
are you the gold digger?
Because they're automatically labeled that. And I think that's
Yeah,
completely unfair. I mean,
that's
if I was a kind of person where I said, okay, because I know people like this, I'm not going to put them on spot, but I know girls who they plan their entire year around the NBA playoffs, whatever the fuck that shit is, where they literally go to these different
yeah,
events trying to land themselves, you know,
right.
an athlete. And I'm just like, what are you looking for? Are you looking for love, or are you just looking for someone to take care of you and
No,
give you a
and to
good
be
life?
fair, not everybody is looking for love, right? We know
Yeah.
that.
Well, yeah, based on the show Bridezilla that I used to be obsessed with as a kid, as a teenager watching, the way these
Oh my
people
gosh.
approach love and marriage, I'm like, these people are not at all interested in their mate. They're more into the wedding, like
Oh,
seriously.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Look at the number of people out there that love just the wedding, the planning, having the wedding, the honeymoon stage. And then
Mhm.
once shit gets real, get divorced and then they
Yeah.
move on and do it again
Yeah.
because they're addicted to the wedding.
Yeah.
I don't know why putting weddings together is a hot mess and so much work, but whatever.
I can see why, especially if you're a person who comes from a world where you don't feel like your voice is heard, or
Mhm.
you don't feel important, you don't feel
Or
seen.
seen.
Yeah, that is a one day where all of the attention is completely on that person. So I can see that becoming addictive. It's almost like you become a celebrity for a day and everyone is like, oh, you're so great. You're so beautiful. I love you. This is so, I'm so happy for you. And that's all day. And then the next day, nothing.
Yeah, that's a really good point, especially in LA where people want to be at that celebrity status. And if you aren't, then that's how you get to feel famous for the day, you know?
Yeah, throwing these events and stuff.
Yeah. So I'm curious, out of all the episodes we've done, so I know today we were talking about, you know, we're going to kind of do this little summary, and I made my notes to talk about some of the episodes I thought were the most important, most impactful, and, you know, like our favorite ones. What was your favorite one?
My favorite episode was actually Ageless Love with Dr. Denise LaRosa, your mom. No, because I felt like I had a lot of aha moments in her episode. There were certain things that she said that really stuck out to me. And I don't want to put any one thing on, you know, but I think everyone should really re-listen to that episode, because I think we all age and we all tend to forget that if we're lucky, we will get to 65 and 70. And when we do get to that age, that doesn't mean that love is less. It doesn't mean that you want sex less. Like, all these things are still important, because I've had relationships in the past where I dated men that were 30 years older than me. And listening to them and listening to their desires, we tend to think that just because someone ages, they lose the urge to be intimate, to find new friends, to go on new adventures, but that never really goes away. And I think a lot of younger people sometimes, they overlook the fact that they're going to age too. And we can be a little ageist against people who are older. And the thing I loved about that episode is we're all human, but she humanizes the experience that older people are having with love and relationships. And it reminds people that, yeah, just because you're 60 does not mean you don't want to get plowed. It does not mean that you don't want to, like,
you brought this up for today, because
why?
I literally, you know, I'm in a lot of Facebook groups, divorce groups, singles groups, you know, it's my business. Like, I want to make sure I'm staying up to date with where people are struggling. And I literally just saw a post this morning of this woman who's 61, and she put up a picture of herself and said that for the first time in years, she's going to try and get back out into the dating scene at 61. And yet she's really struggling because of her age, because there's limited choices when she gets to, you know, and when you get to men who are in their 60s, and there's this divide between, you know, when you're in your 30s and 40s, if you're dating someone who's 5 years younger, 5 years older, it's not such a big deal, right? But when you're at that point, she was talking about how if she goes too much older, then he can't keep up with her. They can't be active together. And if he's too much younger, he's still working full time. And she's at that point where she's retiring. So you have like these major shifts that are happening in your life around that age, and everyone is not on the same page. Not everyone is retiring right at 65. Some are retiring at 60, some are retiring at 70. And so you're having like these major shifts in your life. It's really hard to connect with another person when you're not at the same stage, even though you're at the same age.
Yeah. And I
So,
think,
yeah.
I personally think I give kudos when I see like someone in their 80s or 70s and there's like, I'm getting married again. I'm like, good for fucking you, because the chances of finding, okay, everyone has a chance to find love, but it seems like as you get older, those chances go down. Like it's to me, it's interesting that my husband's father, his wife died, I think about 20 years ago. He has not dated, has not been with anyone since. I find that very interesting. As a human being, I feel like you, no matter how old you are, we all desire human connection and intimacy. So it's interesting to me how people are able to just be older and like kind of just push that aside, knowing, and I know damn well they want it. Like I had a
Mm-hmm.
friend whose mother was like 90 years old and all she did was watch TV and read books. But on occasion, I would sit down with her and watch TV, and a good-looking man would come on TV, and she's like, "Ooh, I would love to spend a night with him." And she's 90 saying this. So it
I
let
love it.
me, it reminded me that, oh, okay, wow, here it is. The idea out there is, oh, she's dry, she doesn't want it, but she does. And I don't know. I thought that episode was very good just because it reminds us that we're getting older. If we're lucky, we will
Mm-hmm.
age. And if we're more lucky, maybe we might have love at that age, but it's not guaranteed. And I think it's a struggle because we are living in a world where youth is on a pedestal all the fucking time.
Yes.
And we completely overlook the fact that we all are going to die one day. We're all going to age. Can we, like, I know this is a little grim, but I think that's what pushes us to date and find relationships, is to find that partner that makes this whole experience a lot less stingy, a lot less painful.
Absolutely. We live in a society where it is not cool to age.
Mhm. Not at all.
And, I look at some countries, like European countries, where they look at it a little bit differently. They accept bodies differently. They accept the aging process as their elders get to their senior age, then they bring them into their home. And, Asian families do the same thing. And Asian culture is the same way. As your parents get older, you bring them into your home and they live with you and you take care of them. And
Mhm.
um, here in the States, we don't do that. We don't really look at aging the same way. It's like,
We almost push them off into a corner when people get
yeah,
older and try
like,
kind of
oh,
forget
gross,
about
you're
them.
old.
Yeah.
Let me put you in this really nice $5,000 a month nursing home.
Just out of sight, out of mind. Get out of here. It's like when you ever go to gay club? This probably happens at straight clubs too. But I'll be at some gay clubs, and there'll be, of course, older gay men there. Which I think, if you are a gay man over the age of, let's be honest, 50 right now, you are lucky to be fucking alive because most people died in the 80s because of AIDS, who were out of the closet. But you see these young, like young guys, like, oh, look at that old guy right there. And the guy could just be like fucking 40 years old, and they're automatically like, ew, get out of here, daddy. And I'm just like, how interesting.
Oh my
So
goodness.
interesting. Like these young kids, they're just like, ew, yuck, that's gross. I'm like, girl, you're aging, you're gonna age too. It's just, I just
Yeah.
find it so fascinatingly weird how we are in this country about people that get older.
We don't realize the aging process. Like, I kind of wish that someone had warned me when I turned 30, and my 30th birthday in LA. I was having this meltdown of, oh my God, I'm getting older. I hate this. I wish someone, the 40-year-old version of me or the 50-year-old version of me had come back to say, girl, your boobs are going to drop. You just wait for that shit to happen. Then you'll be
Mm-hmm.
crying.
Then
Or, the chicken fat on your back of your arm, when you
mm-hmm.
wave, it has like
Mm-hmm.
this
It
delayed
waves
wave.
back. It's like whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah, that's when you start. Joan Rivers, I'm paraphrasing, and this is which is why I kind of post somewhat naked pictures of myself on my Instagram. It's like you're as young as you'll ever be right now.
Mhm.
Embrace it. Embrace whatever you look like, your beauty, what you have to
Right.
offer right now.
Love your body the way it looks right now today, because I'm
Mhm.
guaranteeing you tomorrow and the next day, it is not going to be what you're expecting. Our
Mhm.
body, our skin starts to sag, it starts to wrinkle, it starts to change. It's just
Yeah.
part of life. So
Yeah.
appreciate the way it looks now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And
that's a
that's
great one.
yeah.
I
And
think
that's
that's a great
basically
episode to like.
our whole season, the whole gist of this season, is love yourself, love your surroundings, and
Mhm.
just love, you know,
Yeah.
love aging, love everything. I really think everyone listening, you listening right now, should binge listen. Well, actually, you can binge watch on
You
Betraying,
can.
but binge listen to this show because I think the whole point of this first season is getting everyone to really embrace love and all that love, I guess, encompasses,
Mhm.
meaning your body, the aging process, your neighbor, success, lack of success, the journey of life. You have to love the entire experience of just being human. And I think if we can get to that point, a lot of us will probably find more love, more success at love, more success at relationships because we're now bringing ourselves into the moment. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
It's a really good point when you talk about like loving yourself. Um, a lot of people say, I hear it a lot of times of people say, I love myself, but are you taking care of yourself?
Mm-hmm.
It's that self care element that we forget about. Yes, you have to give to your family, you have to give to your work, you have to give to your friends, but you cannot forget that you have to take care of yourself first. You have to appreciate yourself. One of it's funny, I was just telling someone about this the other day. In my program with my clients, I will take time for them to love themselves. And for some of them, for some of the women, it means getting them to stand in front of a mirror and appreciating their bodies. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because if someone asks me to do that, I'm like, hell no, I don't do that. I hate doing that. I don't do it
I do
myself,
it.
but I teach my clients to do it.
Yeah.
It's just so ridiculous. So yeah, maybe this week I should give myself some self homework of stand in front of the mirror and love your
Mm-hmm.
body.
I tell my sister, and it annoys her sometimes. I'm like, Kimberly, you can use a little selfishness and a little vanity. I think a nice, healthy dose of it improves our life. I know if we go to the extreme, we miss out on life. But if you put in enough effort to like put yourself first, and just like you said, self-care, then you start to reap the benefits of
Right.
all of that work that you're putting. Like I look at myself in the mirror every day nude, and I mean, I'm getting to a point where I try not to rip myself apart. Like, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. But
Me
instead,
too. Yeah.
step back a little, look at my body as a whole, remind myself of where I come from, and just appreciate the body that I have. Like, yeah, I'm not, the most toned guy out there. Yeah, I don't have like the hardest six pack or this or that or that or this, but there's always going to be someone that looks better than me. And there's always going to be someone that looks worse than me, yada, 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 taller,
Right.
shorter, darker, lighter, whatever. I need to just love what I have. And I think standing in the mirror naked every day before you start your day is a great way of just loving yourself. I mean,
I do too.
yeah.
I've started to do it a little bit. Before you get into the shower, kind of,
Mhm.
you do that quick look at the mirror and you're like, yeah, shit's hanging. Oh, well,
Yeah.
could be worse.
Yeah, it could be worse. I mean, I love seeing these people who may have a physical. I don't want to offend anyone. Okay, I would just say, let's say someone that's missing an arm or something like that, but they still put themselves out there. They're putting pictures of themselves, enjoying life and embracing what cards they were dealt.
Right.
And I think that's what it really is about. Like the only way, okay, so next season we're gonna be talking about love. I mean, sex. The
Sex.
only way you can have really good sex, honestly, is if you have some self-love in yourself. If you fucking
That's a very
hate
good point.
yourself, if you think you're disgusting in the mirror, how are you ever going to be able to allow yourself to be free in a moment of sexual intimacy and give yourself to your partner? I
Right.
remember in the past where I've dated people, and I didn't totally love myself, or I felt
Oh, I think
insecure.
we all have.
Yeah. And I didn't feel totally secure in my body in that relationship or with that person. So when we would be intimate, I was always trying to like hide my chest or like be in a position where
Make
they
sure all the
can't see.
lights are off.
Yeah, make sure all the lights are off. Make sure that it's only a certain position so they can't see stuff jiggle when I'm doing stuff. And if they are, it
Oh
takes me out
yeah.
of the moment. And all I'm thinking about is, oh my God, my titties is flapping in his face. I bet he's gonna get soft. That you
It
can't be
doesn't
there.
happen.
It doesn't happen. And for people out there who think that, and I'm just going to talk for men, because I know a lot of people, I have female friends and even some gay friends that are like, I know guys, all they care about is, that I have this cellulite and he doesn't want to see that if he's fucking, no, they don't care. As long as you are, I'm going to be explicit. As long as you are a warm hole and you're willing and you're consenting to them being inside of you, you're good to go. I'm sorry. I know it's a little in your face, but men don't really fucking care about that shit.
I know. And it's something that we're definitely going to talk a lot about in the next season
Yeah.
because it's really important, I think, for women, especially as they're getting older, to understand that I'm going to throw a friend under the bus here and she's going to kill me when she hears this episode, but whatever. She is so caught up in these tiny little pieces of like cellulite on the back of her leg. And I was like, first of all, no man's going to see it because unless, even if he's doing you from behind, he's still not going to see it. His legs
It's
are in the
not.
way.
Yeah.
He's never going to see this little tiny bit of cellulite on the back of your leg.
Yeah.
And no man is going to look at her, who is this drop dead gorgeous woman, and say, oh my God, I can't have sex with you. You have cellulite on the back of your leg.
Yeah. It's dumb. You remember the movie Shallow Hal?
Yes.
No guy is like Shallow Hal. People need to like get that
No.
movie out of their fucking head. If there is a guy out there that's like, I don't want to date her because her one toe was longer than the other, he's a fucking moron. Although I do have some straight friends that have a laundry list of things that the girls have to meet in order to date them.
Yeah,
But
look,
at the end of the day, they'll take anybody.
They are out there. There
Yeah.
are people like that out there. I just actually the other day watched one of those short Jay Shetty videos that he does, and he had a video about that. So yes, they exist. But do you want to be in a relationship with that kind of asshole?
No.
That is a massive douchebag.
Yeah. Yeah.
Her
No
or
one.
him.
Her or him. Yeah.
So no, there are plenty of other people. There are 7 billion people on this planet. You're telling me you can't find one that's okay with your cellulite? Come on.
Which is why I think we should all be optimistic about love. You just said it. There's 7 billion people. And it boggles my mind sometimes when I have friends in abusive relationships, whether it's mentally or physically, and they're holding on to that pain. They're holding on to that relationship. And I'm just like, I get it. You feel like
that's
this
different.
is the best.
Yeah.
Yes. Objectively, I'm saying there's 7 billion people, just like you said. Like, push those feelings aside and get back out there. Love yourself a little bit more. I honestly feel, and this may get us some hate mail, if you are staying in those situations, you are lacking love of yourself. It's a bold statement. Yes.
It is a bold statement. I disagree. Which brings me to Janine's episode that we did. Hers combined with the narcissist episode that we did, just the two of us, when we were talking about, what was it, narcissistically in love. You know, when you are looking at narcissistic behavior, it is such a slow manipulation that often people don't realize they're in it. They don't see what's happening. And then all of a sudden they're in it and they feel like this is normal because that's what the other person has done. They have reeled them in to believe that this is typical behavior in a relationship. And they're stuck and they're the victim, but they don't always have a support network to get out of it, or they don't always have the means to get out of it. And I know we've talked about it either in Janine's episode or the narcissist episode that we did. I was mentioning this Facebook group that I don't run it. I'm just in it kind of trolling considering I'm not, shouldn't be in it. Hope they don't kick me out now. It is like 30,000 members strong, and people are very active in this group, and it's all about getting out of narcissistic relationships. It's people trying to support other people, trying to get out of their narcissistic relationships. It's run by a woman who's an attorney. I think she, helps support people getting out of those types of relationships. But they are talking about 10, 20-year marriages that they were stuck in these abusive relationships because they just didn't have a way to get out. And a lot of times the abuser or the narcissist is the breadwinner. They have control of the finances, they make all of the money. And if you have children involved, they have all the connections, and they will fight you for full custody or make you look like you are the problem parent or the problem person. They'll throw you under the bus all the time in front of your friends and say things like, he or she is crazy, they're losing their mind, I don't know what to do. They'll play the victim role. That is key for a narcissist. They play the victim role all the time. And so that makes you look like the bad guy. So they get stuck in these situations and don't know how to get out of them. So I get it.
I guess that's where we like kind of disagree in that. I think it takes a lot of courage to leave that. I will say that. And if you're in that situation and you don't see a way out, the day you do leave that relationship is the day you finally say to yourself, and this is just my opinion, I could be completely wrong, it's the day you say to yourself, I love myself more than this fucking abuse, I need to leave. So in my heart, I truly do feel that you don't love or respect yourself enough to detach from that situation because you are scared. You do feel like you don't have any options. But at the end of the day, we all have fucking options. And an abusive relationship of any kind, whether it's mental, physical, is not acceptable. You have such a short time here on earth. Why do you want to spend any of that time with an asshole? Male or female or non-binary,
Right.
whatever. Like, don't spend any time with an asshole. You deserve love. You don't deserve to be hit. You don't deserve to be manipulated. Watching my mother manipulate my father my entire fucking life makes me this way, makes me appreciate my husband. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is kiss my husband every single day because of the way I saw my parents together. No one deserves that kind of relationship. And it makes me sad that my dad died in a mentally abuse. I don't know. Like my parents were they were very secretive. They kept to themselves, but from the outside looking in, it looked like my mother was pretty controlling and said whatever she wanted, did whatever she wanted. It was her show. And my dad, when I would talk to him, was very frustrated sometimes with the situation. So that being said, it makes me sad to know that he left this earth. I don't know for sure. He could have been happy. He could have been one of those people that's like, I love a domineering woman. I love that she, slaps me in the streets. And, but when we get home, we go at it. Maybe that was the situation. I don't know. But from the outside looking in, it didn't seem like he was happy. And he died in a relationship where the mate was verbally abusive all the time. No one deserves that. No one. Life is way too short. So I feel like...
Well, that I'll agree with you on.
Yeah. I feel like we just need to love ourselves a little bit more. And if we do, then we will start to like attract better things in our life, better opportunities, better relationships. And all it comes to is a little bit more self-love, just like you've been saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the other episodes we did.
Wait, you asked me and we basically went off on this whole time. I went off on this whole rant. What is your favorite episode?
I think I was thinking of it this morning and I was like, oh, that might be my favorite. No, that might be my favorite. That might be my most fun. But I think the COVID in Love one, because it was so important to talk about dating and COVID. And I think when we first started this, we thought we would be done with the pandemic.
Mm,
And here we are now in deep in variant 2 of COVID and buzz about a variant 3 coming along. Like,
really? I didn't hear
I
that yet.
don't know. The news was talking about it the other day, and I was like, are you shitting me?
I can't take it.
So it's just interesting to see that here we are still kind of needing to talk about COVID and dating. And looking back at that episode, has anything changed? I know, there's a lot of states here that are completely open. There's a lot of states that aren't. Everyone's at different stages of what they believe and what they are able to tolerate. And we here are back into wearing masks if we're indoors. It's a requirement now, at least for my county.
It is here. People just pick and choose who wants to do it.
Mm.
Yeah.
So when you think about being in the middle of a pandemic and you're thinking about COVID, and, I met with a friend the other day who's vaccinated, fully vaccinated, but she ended up getting COVID after being
Ooh.
vaccinated. And she said, you know what? I wouldn't wish this on anyone. It sucked.
Mhm.
She had a really good point of, you don't know how your body is going to respond. She's a very healthy person, so she just assumed if she ever got it, she'd be asymptomatic. But she wasn't asymptomatic, and she had all of these terrible little, you know, nuances of like, it was a bad flu. She said it was awful feeling. She got like the headache that wouldn't go away, the
Mhm.
no taste, the no smell. She ended up with a rash. You just
Oof.
don't know how your body is going to respond to it
Mhm.
with or without the vaccination. And I'm not trying to push for the vaccine right now. That's not the point. The point is,
I am.
she is she's single and she's
uh,
trying to date,
uh,
and having gone through this herself, now is thinking like, maybe I should be a little bit more cautious on dates.
I was going to ask you, do you wear masks when you go on your dates?
I don't. I'll
Do you ask if they're vaccinated or anything before you go or anything like
I
that? Or
absolutely do.
okay.
Um, so I'm the type of dater that I don't need pen pals. I don't want to get stuck on the app just chatting back and forth. It drives me absolutely
I
bonkers
love
if
that. I don't need pen pals.
if someone's like, so tell me about yourself. What do you like to do? Like the interview questions, the
Yeah.
typical date interview questions, I,
Mhm.
I won't. Nope.
No. Yeah.
We can have different conversation. You don't need to know about my past dating before we've even met.
Yeah.
It's not necessary information.
Yeah, it really
It
isn't.
will naturally come out as we get to know each other because we're going to share
Hmm.
our stories, our lives.
Hmm.
You don't need to ask it like an interview. It is not an interview. And
I've
so,
been
yes,
guilty of
I
doing that.
do ask before I meet them because I want to meet them right away.
Yeah.
I do ask if they're vaccinated. And a lot of these dating apps out there now, you can select. There's like
Hmm.
a selection of saying I'm vaccinated or I'm not vaccinated. I know Hinge
Hmm.
has it, which is really nice. I'm pretty sure that Bumble has it, and I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure Tinder has it as well.
Hmm.
And those are the top 3 dating apps right now in the US. So if you're using one of those 3 apps, then mark whether or not you're vaccinated. I did see recently someone on there said not yet vaccinated. And I thought,
What are you
well,
waiting for?
that's an interesting story there.
Like,
Still not going to meet you, but
yeah.
but what do you mean not yet vaccinated?
Like,
Like
what's
at
the
this
holdup?
point, yeah,
Like, it's weird.
it
Yeah,
is weird.
we had a friend that she was resisting getting it done because, okay, so I get it. People are like, I don't want to put something in my body that I don't know what it is. You drink Pepsi Cola, which is basically a can of fucking chemicals, and you're telling me you won't take a vaccine. It's so weird in this country. It's like we're quick to get our dogs vaccinated. Oh, you make sure your dog is vaccinated. But when it comes to ourselves, we're like, oh no, I'm just, I'm gonna wing it. Let's see what happens. It's like, what? It's like science has literally helped us double our lives in the last 100 years because of vaccines and testing and trials. Why are you fighting against science all of a sudden? It's such a weird thing that we're going through in this country right now. Between that and the people that believe in flat earth, I would imagine dating has to be really interesting when you start talking to someone like that.
We haven't talked about that, have we? We
We
have not.
haven't. I don't even know if I really want to get into that fully because I don't know. Like some family members I'll see them and then right away, this 5G is the reason why we have COVID. And I'm just like, oh my God, I don't fucking care. I know it makes me sound ignorant, but I don't fucking care. Like I
No, no,
literally don't
no. I
care.
don't. I don't think it makes you sound ignorant. It's just, it's something that comes up on dates.
Yeah.
Have you, if you think about it, you go on a first date with someone, you sit down in front of them, and we've all been there where we think that we have enough in common to be on that first date.
Mhm.
And then they say something and you look at them and you go, wait, what? And immediately in that moment, you're thinking, how the fuck do I get out of this situation now?
Yeah.
And
That
that,
has to be tricky because, and how about hobbies? Like you're just not completely 100% sure of, and they start talking about that, and you start looking at them glossy eyed. Like, I mean, that's why when you mentioned earlier meeting right away, I agree with you because that's how you're able to learn these things about people right away, and you don't end up on date 2 and 3, and then they're like, "Oh, by the way, an alien abducted me last week, and I have a probe up my ass," and you're just in there like, what?
cool.
So yeah, I do agree with you when you say meet right away because it's hard to really truly hide your neuroses sometimes when you're out
Mhm.
meeting someone. It either manifests itself through like nervous actions or the way you carry. You can learn so much about someone on a first date.
I have a great example.
What's that?
So recently I was chatting with this guy. We matched on one of the apps and he had very professional looking pictures up. And I was like, oh, nice. Okay, cool. We chatted on text for a little bit. And, when you think about it via text, it's easy to take your time and formulate what you want to say.
Mm.
You type it in, you delete, you type it in, you delete, and then you're happy and you send. In person, you cannot do that. And I almost wish we had met in person a little bit sooner, actually, believe it or not, because when we met in person, we met for lunch and I, within 10 minutes, thought, how the fuck do I get out of this?
Mm.
The dude was so nervous that he wouldn't shut up.
Exactly.
He just
Yeah.
kept talking. And it got to a point where he was talking about his tattoo on his arm and he stood up, took his jacket off, rolled up his sleeve, and did like this gun show and was like, look, my tattoo's dancing, to the point where the server walked behind him and went, oh, look, a gun show. Oh, he forgot to bring ammo.
He said that?
I don't know how the dates that I was with didn't hear it. I am dying inside because it is just, I almost wish I was on a date with the server. It was absolutely hilarious. And I'm thinking,
embarrassing.
oh my God, I just want to like crawl into like a hole somewhere and just die for this poor guy. I was like, dude, sit down.
Guys don't realize how
down.
cringy they are. Didn't we talk about that in one episode? How if guys should just be a little less cringy, they might have some success in relationships. Yes. Just keep the cringe at bay.
The one thing I can give this poor guy is the fact that he kept saying like, I'm sorry, I talk a lot when I'm nervous and I'm a little nervous. And I was just like, okay, well, that's fine. But like, there were a lot of things that kept coming out and he was like, I'm an open book. And I was like, maybe you don't need to be an open book
on
a first date. Yeah. It's too much information. It
Yeah.
is way too much information. The things that I learned about him on this date, I just thought we have nothing in common. You are not the person that's in front of me is not the person that I was chatting with, and it is
Hmm.
not the person that you are presenting on your
Hmm.
profile.
Yeah. That's why it's so important to meet right away. Unless the conversations is just like fluffy, generic, nothing too deep talk here and there, meet right away. Because
Yeah.
I have become so, I remember, okay, before there was like dating apps, there was like maybe phone lines and stuff, or like ads in the paper, or like Craigslist shit before we had the
Oh my
convenience of
God.
just our cell phone. So imagine back then when you're like, I remember I met someone on a chat line, the New Jersey Raven or some shit like that. And his voice was so good. We're talking, we're having a good time. He sounds so hot. We talked for maybe a week or two. And then we finally met. He was completely different in person than he was on the phone. People change their voices. People alter things with these with phone or internet or anything where there's a barrier between you and that person. People manipulate what they're putting. I manipulate my pictures that I put on Instagram sometimes. So we all do it. That's why I
Hmm.
highly recommend if you see someone on one of these dating apps and you link with them, meet them within 48 hours or move the fuck on, because then you're getting into that territory of they start making shit up. eh, they start to fall into the illusion that they want to create for you. Meet them like right away. There's a lot of
I
catfishing going on still to this day, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I know there's a lot of people listening right now that are screaming at us going, I don't agree.
I get it for safety reasons. I
Yeah.
understand it. Meet them at a fucking mall on a busy Friday evening in front of Cinnabon. I don't care. Just
Yeah.
meet them. Like, we need to stop pussyfooting around all these things. Like, oh no, I need to ask a few more questions before. No, no, you're wasting your
Right.
time. You're wasting your time.
Right. And we just saw that recently in the Facebook group. There's a couple conversations going on about that. And some people saying, like, no, I insist that I want to get to know you first. If you are getting to know someone on, Zoom or Skype or whatever, a video chat over the phone, because I've done that before where people
Hmm.
have said, like, I kind of want to call first,
Hmm.
especially if it's a long distance thing.
Hmm.
Obviously, it's a little bit harder to meet.
Hmm.
But if you're in the same town and you can meet in person, I definitely suggest meeting in person, getting a
Hmm.
coffee, something that's short,
Yeah.
not even a meal,
Yeah.
just something that's really in public with a lot of people around during the day, and then go from there if you're really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But there's so many things that you are not going to get over the phone. You are not going to get that connection, that
Hmm.
chemistry. You
Hmm.
can look at someone and say, yeah, they look like someone I would be attracted to.
Hmm.
But when two bodies, human bodies, are in close proximity, there is a chemical exchange that happens.
Hmm.
And you can feel that. You can feel the energy from that person.
Hmm.
You know, this date that I was giving an example, he seemed so calm and so sure of himself until we met in person. And then the energy was just like, oh my God, I can't handle this.
Yeah.
His energy was just really uncomfortable to be around.
Hmm.
And that's when I realized, nope, this isn't going to work.
Yeah. Imagine if we could live in a world where we're so confident or so comfortable with ourselves, where we talk to someone on these apps and we're like, let's meet right now. And if it doesn't work, we'll move on. Like, imagine if we had enough, I don't want to say balls because that's kind of sexist, but we had enough courage to just say, let's meet right now. Like, what is wrong with texting someone and then say, okay, I like you. We're both free. Let's just meet just for maybe a minute to see if we have at least a bit of a connection. And if we do, we'll continue to mess each other. If not, hi, it was nice meeting you. Let's move on. Like, we should get to that point, because formerly, how did people meet? They were out and about or at a bar or something, and then you
They
approach
initially met
someone.
in person. Yes.
Exactly. We are wasting way too much time
And
texting and
energy.
chatting and energy. And then by the time we meet the person, we know way more than we should. and then we're no longer interested. Then what are you left? You feel like you've wasted, just like you said, you've wasted energy. Just meet. Like just meet.
Yeah.
That's I fully believe in that. Just meet. If you like someone, just meet, because pictures lie, texting and messaging, it's edited. It's just meet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, when you think of safety purposes, and I know this is really for women,
Yeah.
we want to make sure that we feel safe before we meet someone, especially in straight relationships when you're meeting a male, because a male can overpower you in an instant. We know that. We're not stupid.
Yeah.
I wish men would understand that, though. I wish
I do
men
too.
would be acutely aware of the fact that even if I'm not a very big man, I'm built to be stronger. It is just my genetic makeup. It's just how we're built.
Yeah.
And that she might be feeling uncomfortable because she's not sure I am a safe person. And it drives me bonkers when men are like, I'm a respectful person, or I'm safe. You can trust me. Are you shitting me? Why should I trust you? I've never met you.
If a guy says that, I would not trust him. It's usually because I feel like a lot of times people say the opposite of what they are. I'm not a bitch. And then you meet them and they're like a total fucking bitch. Or
right.
I'm such a loving person. And then you meet them, they're not loving at all. Or I can be cold and then you meet them and they're like, all over you and they're like obsessed. So I feel like people are usually the opposite sometimes of what they say, what they proclaim in these messages.
Yeah, I've done it myself. I've told people like I'm an asshole, and they're like, "Are you though?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can be."
Yeah,
I'm
you
being
can be,
honest.
but
Like I
it's
can be.
yeah. But I think
I'm not
we
always.
over exaggerate things. But as far as safety goes, we've had multiple females on our show, and it's still to this day, it boggles my mind that almost every woman on planet Earth, every time she leaves a fucking house or goes on a date, there is this thin layer of, am I going to get raped today?
Yes.
Am I going to get murdered? What's going to happen? It's like no man walks out the fucking house thinking that, I mean, unless you're Black and you lived in 1950, you might get hung. That's totally different. But no man walks this earth feeling like that, feeling like, right, oh my God, that guy right there, he might throw me down and rape me at any moment. No, men don't live like that. And I think if more men realize that women leave the house every fucking day with that veil over them,
yes,
they'd be a little less aggressive. Like I'd be on sets, like I'm not going to say what show, because I'm still working it right now. And the way these men talk amongst each other, I'm like, no wonder you're single. You're all assholes with zero empathy for women. Like the way they talk about the girls on the sets, like, oh, that bitch won't talk to me because, well, you called her a bitch, so why would she talk to you? Right. Or it's just, I think, I wish there was a way that in high school or maybe even middle school, remember there was home economics where you learned about baking and cooking and shit. We should have a class that teaches people about relationships and love and just human connection and respect. Because there's way too many men out there that walk this earth not realizing what other people are going, especially other genders, other sexual orientations. They're in a vacuum sometimes. And we've created this world where it's such a man's world where we don't even, like, I love it when I see men cringe when they play a commercial for tampons. Oh, get that shit off my TV. I'm like, dude, what is wrong with you? Like, women exist. Do you date women? Like, yeah. And I'm just like, why are you like this? Like, who is training men to be like this? And maybe it's because I had a sister and a mother I feel this way. I don't know. But I do definitely see that there is a lack of empathy on the man side when it comes to what women go through, the effort they put in to look pretty for them, and they don't even fucking care half the fucking time. Like there's a lot that I feel women and the feminine energy has to go through on this earth. And I think I said it like 5 times, if more men had more empathy, things would be better. That's all. I'm ranting now.
No, I obviously, as a woman, I agree. And I'm pretty sure every single woman who just heard this agrees as well. men need to understand that when we walk out the door, we have to be aware of our surroundings. We have to be aware of the situations we're putting ourselves in. And we have this underlying concern that we could potentially be assaulted,
Mhm.
whether it's daylight or not.
Yeah. That's actually kind of horrifying too. Daylight
Yeah.
as well. Family. Like I have a close person, I don't want to say who was raped by someone in their church. I'm like, this is a church, a place that's supposed to be sacred, a place that you're supposed to go to and
Right.
feel
And
like
feel
you're at
safe.
home and feel safe. And yet you went there and you were raped. Like that makes what? And it's
Right.
from some guy who had no empathy for women, who feels women owe themselves to him, who feels this woman is just an object for me to get pleasure from. Doesn't even see a fucking person, just sees an object. There's this whole notion of ownership in this country when it comes to men and their mates. And there's some women that kind of enjoy it. I mean, I get it, it's kinky, but it's not healthy. It's really not healthy.
Right. And we talked about it in a previous episode as well. When it comes to first dates, to keep in mind that, and this is probably why a lot of women now are like, well, I don't want to do a first date. I just want to get to know them first, because they're suggesting these adventure dates for a first date. They want so desperately to impress her that they are trying to create these dates that are too involved.
Yeah.
They're, I had a guy a few years back want to take me on a first date, and he was a friend of a friend, but he wanted to go to Santa Barbara to some theme park, some water park. And I was like, for a
What are you,
first date,
16?
you want me, for one, you want me to sit in a car with you an hour and a half each way. I don't even know if I want to be with you for an hour, more than an hour and a half.
More than 10 minutes.
Right. Go to this like theme park or whatever, and you're trying to get me into a swimsuit. Could you be any more cliche?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
So no,
That's
absolutely
having
not.
no empathy for the other person. Basically, that guy was thinking, oh, I want to go to a water park and I want to see her half naked. So perfect date. I get
And
not
when I
two
told
birds
them
with
no,
one
I would
stone.
rather do a first date here somewhere local, something that wasn't so long. That's not an adventure. Because every time he was like, how about a concert? And I was like, no, like, if we're going to get to know each other, I want to make sure that we are somewhere that I feel comfortable, I feel safe. And we ended up not going on a first date ever.
Yeah.
And it happened again recently. We talked about it a couple episodes back. Same thing with that guy. He insisted on me getting in his car and we were going to go for a drive, and it never happened. We never went on a date because I refused to do this adventure date for the first date. Well, you know what? Cool. Bye.
Yeah. Well, just like I went on a rant about for a few moments ago, those are guys that have no empathy and have no idea what women deal with on a fucking daily basis. All they're thinking about is some movie they saw or some episode of The Bachelorette or some shit, and they're like, oh, I'm going to impress her like they do. That doesn't impress people. It creeps people out. Like,
absolutely.
Guys need to get away from approaching dating and relationships via movies. I know too many guys are like, oh, I'm gonna do what the guy did in 16. No, don't do anything.
Those
in a
are
movie.
movies.
Don't follow movies. Don't follow TV shows. Just don't. Just don't. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, with that said, I think this is probably a good point for us to say goodbye to our listeners.
Yes,
We've
this is a
had
very
so much fun
passionate
with
show.
you guys. It was.
Yeah.
I feel like we could probably talk about this for another hour or so, but we won't do that.
Yeah.
But just a reminder to our listeners to please follow us, subscribe. Please give us a review as well, whether you're listening to us on Spotify, on Apple.
We're on Breaker. We're on like
Google.
Google. Yeah, we're on a few.
Yeah.
Radio
Wherever you
Public.
are.
Yeah.
Give us a review, follow us, subscribe, whatever. We do really appreciate your feedback. And if you want to get more involved in the conversation, join the Facebook group, Date
Date
Smarter,
Smarter.
Sexier. Uh, the conversations there are just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And everyone has been so respectful of each other from what
For the
I've
most
seen
part. Yeah.
for the most part. But there's just some really thought-provoking conversation going on there. And it's just
Mhm.
been so cool to be a part of that.
I'm so happy you created that because I'm not gonna lie, I do troll your page sometimes. I just like love reading the comments when people and I'm like, what the fuck did he just say? And then you see the comments that people are saying after it. I love the group that you've created.
Yeah, I love the members because they're the ones who have taken control over it. I really
Mhm,
don't do a whole lot in it anymore. And they bring up such amazing conversations.
mhm.
It's been really awesome. It's
Yeah,
been really, really cool to
yeah,
watch that.
yeah.
But next week will be our last episode of the season, and then we'll take a little break and we'll come back November
8th.
28th.
Basically Thanksgiving weekend, that Sunday,
Yeah.
we'll be back. Yeah.
So until next time. Cool, cool, cool.
Yeah, that was
I
a really good.
know. And this is one of those that I feel like we probably could just kind of keep going and going and going and going.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I have a date in a bit. So
Oh yeah, you do. You got to go at 11, right?
hmm
Yeah. Okay. I will say it's not going to be a long post show today, but I did like that we had a little disagreement in our episode
Me too.
because it creates like a little tension and we both have to uh, give why we feel the way that we feel. And we were both very passionate in our responses. So I love
Mhm.
that.
Me
I
too.
love that we're able
I
to have these conversations.
I think it's a good role model for people as well to see that any kind of relationship, whether it's a friendship, a working relationship, or an intimate relationship for family,
Mhm.
that you are never going to agree with someone 100%.
Yeah.
And that's important for dating to understand that you're going to meet someone and you're going to probably disagree. And, my mom is actually a really great example of that. She dated a guy that he was very conservative and she's extremely liberal, and they disagreed on a lot of things
I would
politically.
imagine.
But it was the way they disagreed
Mhm.
that allowed them to have a very successful relationship. They were very respectful of the other person's point of view, and they did not put each other down for their points of view, because when it comes to it, at the end of the day, really your political views are not fact.
They're really not. It's all
Their
opinion.
opinion. It is all opinion.
Mhm. So
And
you can't really hate someone for their opinion.
right. And we talk about fact checking things,
Yeah.
but it's still, even when you fact check, a lot of it is still based off of opinion. There's so much opinion involved.
Hmm.
And it was it was great for me actually to be able to watch her go through this relationship where they really disagreed on a lot of things, and yet they had this beautiful relationship, and it was so healthy, and they would
Yeah.
have these great philosophical conversations, and at the end of it, agree to disagree.
Hmm. This is
It was
how it
just,
should be. You
yeah,
know.
they agreed on the important things like women's rights. They
Hmm.
did agree about those, you do have to make sure that things that are really high up on your values
They
that you
kind of
agree
have to
on.
align. Yeah.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
do have to align on some of those, but
Yeah.
you can disagree politically and you can disagree on other things
Hmm.
as long as you can respect each other and you can approach your conversations with empathy and with compassion. So,
Yeah. Well, on that note, let's not keep you from your date too much longer. This is so weird because it's like our second to last episode, and this is like our shortest post show, but it's for a very good reason. You're about to date smarter, sexier.
I am. love it. We did have quite a long pre-show for you guys, so hopefully
Yeah.
you did enjoy that.
Yeah.
And like we said before, we are going to make sure that during the break, during the season break, we are going to put up some videos of just us
Mhm.
having conversation and giving you some really good tips that we think will be useful. I'm about to put up a series of reels on my Instagram
Mhm.
about the dating algorithm and
That looks
try.
really interesting. Wait, are you doing a course
I
or?
am. I'm offering a course, a video course about the dating algorithm. I have done so much fucking research.
Mhm.
It has been insane. I've done surveys, I've done research, I mean, I'm running out of things to information. My brain is going to explode. I know more about algorithms right now than necessary, but I am putting together a video course to teach people how to navigate through the dating app algorithms.
Mm.
And I'm going to focus on the top 3 dating sites, Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge. I might do a little bit on OkCupid because they're not that far behind.
Mhm.
Match is a lot further back on the list than I thought,
Does anyone even use
but
Match still?
they do. There are some cities. And so it's been a matter of researching
Mhm.
countries, cities, states. Oh my gosh, it's just been crazy. So, yes, I am putting together a video course. I am offering it for free until its
Mm.
launch date. Its launch
Mhm.
date will be October 10th. After it launches, if you don't sign up, you will not get it for free.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I want this to be successful. This sounds really good because it's like with Instagram marketing. Once you figure out the fucking algorithm, then everything becomes easy. You know what to do and what not to do. And I think a lot of people are doing things that are not supposed to be doing on these dating apps. And I think this is going to be a wonderful help. But on that note, you have 5 minutes to get on your date. You look amazing. I
thank
love
you.
the turtleneck, the sleeveless turtleneck, because you have a necklace on too.
Oh,
Oh, I
no.
thought, oh, I thought I saw a
I think
necklace.
it's just the reflection.
Yeah,
I
I think
do
yeah,
have my necklace on underneath. It's always there. I wonder if it's showing through.
put it on the outside. It'll look really pretty.
Oh, that's not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah. But you look great. Have a great date.
Thank you.
And I will be well, let's stop recording. Thanks for watching us, guys. We'll see you
Bye,
next time.
guys.